Hey, what it do, sports world? It's me again. The Winner Circle podcast with me, Ray Diggs, is here, y'all. Where passion meets performance and champions are made. I'm your host, Ray Diggs, bringing you the energy, the insight, and the mindset from across the world of sports. From the locker rooms to the big stage, this is where the real ones talk and legends rise, and the motto stays the same. Winners will always win. The Winner Circle podcast with me, Ray Diggs. We are here and we ain't going nowhere. Make sure y'all tune in because we're about to go live now. Peace. Hey, what it do, sports world, and welcome to the Winner Circle podcast, man. Before I get started, man, make sure y'all hit the like button, the subscribe button, and also the share button. Make sure y'all give me your feedback on what y'all think about this segment, man. But we got to talk about the college football playoffs, the quarterfinals. The quarterfinals was just played a few days ago, and we had some great teams that got wins. Some of the teams we did not think, some of the teams I did not think, honestly. I went with Ohio State. I think I might have went with Alabama, but I went with Alabama because everybody know I'm an Alabama fan. Even though I deep down inside, I did not think that, I think that a lot of things had to go their way for them to beat Indiana. And none of those things went their way because they pretty much got ran off the field. I went with Oregon to beat Texas Tech. I felt like Oregon was the better team. I feel like Oregon was built like a SEC team. And I think I went with Georgia against Ole Miss. It was just, man, everybody knows when you're in against a team for the second time, it's hard to beat that team for a second time. Everybody know rematches. And that's right there why I'm looking at this second game that's going to be next week between Indiana and Oregon. I just don't know, man, because I know it's hard to beat a team for a second time. But hey, man, like I said before, we're going to go ahead and talk about these games. We're going to start off with the Cotton Bowl. It was a Cotton Bowl classic. Miami beating Ohio State 24-14. And I think that Miami played the perfect game. Miami defense came to play. They frustrated Jalen Sayers. And I feel like Carson Beck made play when he needed to make it, even though it was pretty much Fletcher, Mark Fletcher Jr., who was the MVP of the offense, because he broke a long run in the fourth quarter to pretty much break the game over. And Miami played the perfect game. Mario Cristobal, he coached a perfect game. This Miami Hurricanes defense, a Bain. I'm talking about this kid Bain is going to be a top 5 draft pick. This dude right here pretty much wrecked this game. That defensive line for Miami wrecked the game. And I always keep saying that Miami probably got the best offensive line and defensive line in college football. Honestly, they are built like a SEC team. They're built like Georgia's. They're built like Ohio State's. This is a team that I feel like, I said it, man. I was like, if Miami got into the playoff, they can possibly pull some upsets because they have a quarterback in Carson Beck that been in college for 5 years. They have the playmakers. They got some really good playmakers on the offensive side. I forgot the kid's name, is number 1, but he was a freshman last season. And Malachi Tony, I keep telling y'all, but Daniels is a big play wide receiver. Y'all don't know him. He's the trainer that came from SU. The kid make big play after big play after big play. And this is exactly what he did against Ohio State. I think the Ohio State secondary was overrated. And I was looking at what Nick Saban said the other day, and I was thinking the exact same thing. I said, Nick Saban said, a lot of people are saying that this Bear defense or this defense that Matt Patricia for Ohio State's defensive coordinator calls is a very complicated defense. And I'm going to tell you, Nick Saban said the defense ain't that complicated. He was like, the defense, if you just knows defenses, you would know that defense ain't complicated. Teams just don't know how to break that type of defense, which it ain't that hard to break. And I think that once Miami figured it out and they wasn't intimidated by the Caleb Downs and all the rest of them first round draft picks that they got on Ohio State defense, I think that they was like, you know what, we can really beat this team. But I got to throw a shout out to Jeremiah Smith, man. The kid is the best wide receiver in all of college football, man. The kid is a gamer. He's a baller. He's a playmaker. He's a shot caller. The kid is everything that you want in a wide receiver. And I feel like if the kid was coming out this year, he would easily be a top 5 draft pick. So shout out to Jeremiah Smith, man. I know going up against his former his hometown team, which is the Miami Hurricanes. And I keep saying, man, if Miami can if they can keep some of that talent in-house, in-home, man, the Miami Hurricanes is a tough team. They will be big. They will be a team to be reckoned with from here on into the future, because this is a hell of there is talent all over Miami, Florida, man, especially wide receivers. You know, just imagine Brandon Enos and just imagine Brandon Enos, the other wide receiver from Ohio State, Jeremiah Smith, and Malachi Tony there as disposal, man, dude. That right there would be pretty much scary if the Miami Hurricanes could have gotten Jeremiah Smith to come to Miami. But that was a hell of a game. Miami did what they needed to do, and now they will be moving on to the semifinals in the Orange Bowl. It was pretty much a one-sided game in the Orange Bowl. Oregon, number 5, Oregon, number 4, Texas Tech. Oregon dominated Texas Tech over 4 quarters. The game could have gotten even worse. The final score was 23-0, but the game could have been even worse than that. Neither quarterback played good. I think both the quarterbacks pretty much, just played basic games. It was more of the defense for Oregon, honestly. The truth, Brandon Finney Jr., this kid right here made play after play after play. He made a big pick. Then he made a fumble recovery. Then he made another pick in the end zone. This kid right here played a hell of a game, and it was dominated by Miami's defense. Oregon's defensive line dominated this game. Texas Tech, man, I'm going to say this right here. I will give it up to Texas Tech. Texas Tech defense, if Texas Tech offense could have produced any type of offense, I think that this game right here could have went the other way, because Texas Tech got one of the best defense, especially defensive lines, that I've seen in all of college football. But I'm going to tell y'all something. I saw 3 defensive teams dominate. I'm talking about defensive lines. I saw Miami defensive line dominate, Oregon defensive line, and Texas Tech defensive line. These 3 defensive line dominated games. And it tells you right here what you need. And also, I would throw Indiana in there as well, because they defensive line dominated Alabama. But those defensive lines, it tells you, man, if you have a good defensive line that can make it uncomfortable for the other team's quarterback, you got yourself a team that can possibly get to the national championship. And that is why I think Oregon beat Texas Tech. And I also said this right here at the beginning, that Texas Tech, I think Oregon have the easiest route. Think about who they played in the first round. And they I don't want to take nothing away from Oregon. But they had the easiest route to the college football, easiest route up until right now. They played James Madison in the first round. They didn't have to play a conference championship game. So this right here tells me that this team right here has been resting ever since their last game of the season. They didn't play a conference championship. Then they get James Madison in the first round, which they slapped them around. Now they play Texas Tech, which I feel like Texas Tech was, yes, they was the number 4 team, but do I think that they was a number 4 caliber team? I don't know. I think that Ole Miss can possibly beat Texas Tech. It's a few teams out there that I think that can possibly beat Texas Tech, especially when it comes down to their offense, because they don't have much offense, and you can rattle their quarterback. To be honest with you, I think they might have had the weakest quarterback out of all of the quarterbacks in the college football playoff, especially playing this weekend, because I don't know if their quarterback is better than Ty Simpson. I don't know if their quarterback, I know their quarterback ain't better than Ole Miss quarterback or Georgia's quarterback. And I don't think that their quarterback is better than neither one of Miami or Ohio State's quarterback. And I don't think their quarterback is better than Dante Moore. So they had the weakest of all of the quarterbacks. So that's why I say Oregon has had the easiest of all of the playoff teams up until right now. So, but Oregon is a hell of a team. I said that they will most likely win this game, and they won this game convincingly. They won this game easy, and they will be moving on to the semifinals. And then the third game, we had number 1 Indiana against number 9 Alabama. And Indiana just dominated, man. They just pretty much dominated this game. It wasn't even close. Where the closest this game was 3-0. Alabama stopped them, I think, the first drive. And after that, it was pretty much Indiana all the way. Indiana knew that they can have their way. I don't think they respected Alabama. I think that they knew Alabama offense could not move the ball. Indiana defense knew that this offense was one dimension, which it was. They couldn't get nothing going. Indiana outgained Alabama 407 to 193. Fernando Mendoza had a good game, a boring quarterback, but he had a good game. 192 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. He made runs when he needed to on third downs. He got the yardage that he needed. I was a couple plays. It just frustrated me when it was third down and maybe 7. He takes off running and get a first down. And it's just frustrating, man, for Alabama, man, because Alabama is one of those teams that a lot of people said that they shouldn't have been in the playoffs and to start with. I was listening to people talk today, and they said that they shouldn't have been there. They said that they shouldn't have been there. Oklahoma shouldn't have been there. But I'm going to ask these analysts this. Who the hell shouldn't have been in there? Who should have been in the playoffs then? If Alabama wasn't supposed to be there, if Oklahoma shouldn't have been there, y'all said the JMU shouldn't have been there, y'all said the Tulane shouldn't have been there. So who the hell should have been in the college football playoffs then? Hell, it's only so many teams that could be in there. And Alabama was definitely a playoff team. I just think that Alabama one dimension. They could not get the run game going. The offensive line, it just caught up to him, man. It was just too much. Kurt Shinetti, he had this defense. He had this team prepared. The Indiana coach. I'm gonna say this right here about Kirk, man. This dude right here is becoming one of the best coaches in all of college football. And I just think that he has this team. His team takes his personality. They walk the game. They know. I feel like they look at it like teams do not respect them because they're in their basketball school, and they comes out there and they slap you around. They dominate you on the offense and the defensive side of the ball. And that is exactly what they did in this game right here. And like I said, after a scoreless first quarter, Indiana poured it on to score 38 points. The defense held Alabama to only a field goal. Alabama got on a plane from Alabama, Tuscaloosa, Titletown, and flew all the way to California to kick one field goal. I don't understand it. And I'm going to talk about this in another episode. This game right here, and I'm going to explain, y'all. I've been knew that this Alabama team was not a championship team. I knew that they didn't have a championship offensive coordinator. It's the reason why nobody wants this coordinator. Think about this, y'all. If it's a good offensive coordinator, like let's just talk about Ole Miss offensive coordinator, Charlie White Jr. Everybody wants this dude. Everybody wants this offensive coordinator. Nobody wants Alabama's offensive coordinator. Nobody wants Ryan Grubb. When I tell you this dude was a hot commodity coming back last season, I'm talking about this dude was one of those coaches that people were like, they need to get that guy. But I'm gonna tell you, this is what the Seattle Seahawks, if y'all don't know that he was pretty much fired from the Seattle Seahawks, that's why he's back with the Alabama Crimson Tide. He's back with Kalen DeBoer. He said this right here earlier this season. Look at the Seattle Seahawks defense now, and look at the Seattle Seahawks offense last season and this season. It's a totally different offense. And the reason why is because their offensive coordinator. This is what their GM said. Their GM said, you have to be able to adjust. Like what worked last game might not work this game. And everybody knows this. This ain't college. College, you can run the same plays over and over again, and it might work. The NFL, they're going to figure you out. They figure out the plays. And he said that you have to be able to adjust. And I honestly feel like he was talking to that offensive coordinator, which is Ryan Grubbs, because I watched this offensive coordinator not be able to adjust all damn season. It's like he running, okay, let's just say this. It's third down. It's third down and 1, third down and 2. Or it's fourth down and 1, fourth down and 2. I'm going to make this right here. This is an example. Fourth down and 1. He runs a shuffle play he runs a counter. I don't even know what's the counter. I think it was more like an RPO handoff to the wide receiver, which is the wide receiver 5'10", 130 pounds. If you're going to run that with a wide receiver, why not run it with Isaiah Horton, a big physical wide receiver that can possibly get that 1 yard? And I honestly think, and after that play right there, I think the game turned. When Alabama turned that ball over at the 27 or 30-yard line, Indiana they pretty much had their way with them after that. And I think that that's just the problem. I think that if that's not fixed, the same result that Alabama got this year will be the same result that they get next season. Because they're gonna have to figure out what is this offensive coordinator going to do. And I'm hearing reports that Ty Simpson, even though I feel like Ty Simpson had a terrible game, I think he was terrible from the start. It don't matter if it's the first drive, second drive, he's been terrible ever since. Ty Simpson has been terrible the entire end of this season, from the middle of the season all the way to now. He's been horrible. I don't know if it's been injured or whatever, but he's been horrible. This kid right here went from a Heisman Trophy candidate to being maybe like a 4th round or 3rd or 4th round draft pick, even undrafted. But I think they'll still take him in the 1st round. Somebody will, but it just don't make no sense to me. And then, like I said, the last game was the Sugar Bowl. Number 6 Ole Miss, number 3 Georgia. We remember 3 weeks ago, Georgia beating them, coming back to beat them 35-43. 43-35, but this time Ole Miss got the win, 39-34. Trinidad Chandler, I mean, man, this kid right here was in his bags all night long. I'm talking about play. When Ole Miss needed a play, he got them the plays that they needed. And I'm gonna tell you something, Ole Miss's defense, pretty much, I'm talking about they hit and hit often. Gunnar Stockton, they pretty much, man, they beat this kid up. And I'm gonna say, it was a lot of bad play calling, I feel like, from Mike Bobo and Kirby Smart, because I think that they did not have to go for it. They put their defense in a bad situation on that 4th down. When they went for it, that's when the game pretty much changed, because at the time, Trinidad Chandler, he was pretty much, money. But I think that you cannot give them the ball at the 20, 27 or 30-yard line or whatever it was, because Ole Miss offense was pretty much clicking at that point. And I'm going to say this. I keep saying that I feel like Lane Kiffin messed up. Yeah, he got the money. He got everything he wanted from LSU. But Lane Kiffin didn't need to leave Ole Miss to go to LSU. I think that Lane Kiffin could have easily won a championship with the way the transfer portal is and the way NIL is. I think that he could have easily won a championship right there in Oxford, Mississippi. I think that he could have won a championship at Ole Miss. And I think that, honestly, it will be, if he won a championship at Ole Miss, it would have meant more than it would mean at LSU, because you had coaches to win. You done had 4 or 5 coaches win championship. You had Nick Saban, you had Les Miles, you had Ed Orgeron, you had the coach that they just had. You've had, well, Brian Kelly didn't win one, but you had all of those coaches that won national championships at LSU. If he would have won a championship at Ole Miss, you ain't telling me that this dude wouldn't have got a statue. This right here would have meant more in Oxford if he won a national championship. And I think that he's probably looking back now and thinking to himself, damn, I did not think that this team could win a national championship. But I think that Lane Kiffin don't pay attention to things. I think he overanalyzes, he overthinks things. This Ole Miss team been a championship team all season. And for the people that's sitting back saying that, oh, Ole Miss wasn't nothing before Lane Kiffin got here, let me tell y'all something. Lane Kiffin needed Ole Miss just like Ole Miss needed Lane Kiffin, because nobody else wanted Lane Kiffin. Let's be real. Nobody else wanted him. But I'm going to talk about that in another episode. But hey, like I said before, Trinidad Chandler, the Ole Miss quarterback, 362 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and the kicker came in and hit a game-winning field goal. Even though the onside kick, they got a safety, that one made it 39-34. And I'm going to say this about this game here. I think that if it was a lot of game management, this right here was a total collapse by Mike Bobo and Kirby Smart. Because when you got the ball at first and goal at the 5, your mindset is not 3. Your mindset should be, we need to put this in the end zone. We got to put this in the end zone because if we score a touchdown, then Ole Miss have to go down there and score. That's the only way that they can be back. That's the only way they can win this game. They was playing game management. It was a game management. It was bad. It reminds me of a few years, well, a lot of years ago, when Bill Belichick against the Indianapolis Colts and Peyton Manning, game management, and Peyton Manning struck and beat us in the AFC Championship game to go on to the Super Bowl. That is what this right here reminds me of. It might be a divisional round, but it was that right there was the first time that Peyton Manning defeated Tom Brady. And then it made me think about that because I don't understand why coaches want to be game managed. You need to go for that. You got to go for that. You got to put a team away. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to say the K word, but you got to put a team away. If you got them, you got to put them away. And that is what Ole Miss, that's right here's what Georgia should have done when it was first and goal. They played conservative. They ran the ball, then they throw the ball. If you're going to do this, I'm going to tell you, if you're going to throw, first of all, I think that they should have just ran it. If you're going to run it the first two downs, when Ole Miss called their timeouts, you should have just ran it on the third play. What that would have done was you run off all the time. Ole Miss gets the ball back, but they gets the ball back with like maybe 15 seconds on the clock. Why not just go ahead on and run the timeout and go into overtime? They played for overtime. You cannot play for overtime. You have to go for the win. And that's right there was one thing I feel like that Ole Miss, that Georgia did that pretty much cost them this game. And like I said, man, when I look at this right here, man, I'm gonna look at the quarterfinal standouts of this game, of this quarterfinals, the standouts of this college football playoff standouts of the quarterfinals. Miami's defense, that's number one. I got to shout out to them. Shout out to Miami's defense. Oregon's defensive, man, Oregon whole entire defense, because they shut out Texas Tech, a team that had been averaging about 30 points per game. It was more than 30 points per game. Their margin of victory was like almost 30 points or 20 points or some ridiculous number. They do play in the Big 12. But shout out to Oregon. Indiana's entire team, because this team right came to play, especially that run game. They pretty much did what Alabama used to do to people. They just ran all over Alabama. And I got to give it up to Trinidad Chandler and Keywan Lacey in that offense of Ole Miss. Shout out to them dudes, man, because they pretty much, after losing their head coach, they came back and beat Georgia, something that Lane Kiffin could not do. Lane Kiffin had an 8-point lead and he blew it. But guess what? Pete Golden said, guess what? Hold my beer, Lane. I'm going to show you how to get the job done. And that is exactly what he did. He finally got over that Kirby Smart in Georgia hump. And now his team is heading to the semifinal as they will face off against Miami. Now, these two teams right here, I think this right here is going to be a hell of a game between these two teams. But I will say this right here, Indiana versus Oregon. This is a rematch of a game that was played earlier this year at Allen Stadium out in Oregon, in Eugene, in which Indiana went in there and won the game. They dominated. They won this game 30-20. A lot of people didn't think they would win. But I will say this right here. If you go back and watch that game, you will see I said the same thing last week when I said, hey, listen, it was a lot of plays that that Ole Miss left on the field when they played against Georgia the first time. It was the same thing that I would say about Oregon. Oregon left a lot of plays on the field. And I think that if Oregon make those plays, I think they can win this game, the rematch. And it's the same thing. Indiana is the best team in all of college football. They are the number one team for a reason. I think they have the best coach remaining in the college football playoffs. But I think that Oregon has the perfect team with the offensive line, the defensive line. I think that they have the perfect team on a neutral site to win this game. And I'll be coming on sometime this week, Wednesday, because the game is Thursday. I'll be coming on Wednesday, and we're going to be talking about, I'm going to give y'all my predictions on who I think that's going to win this game. But this right here is we got a great semifinals from both sides, man. We know that it's going to be a new champion, being that Ohio State, the defending champion, they're gone. So in my humble opinion, I don't care who wins, because all of these teams I feel like deserve it. If Miami can win, Mario Cristobal gets his first national championship. Carson Beck, that'll be a hell of a story. Leaving Georgia, coming to Miami 1 year and winning a national championship. Then if Ole Miss can win it, their coach leaving them, then they, coach leave them at the end of the season hot and dry to go to their rival team, which is LSU, and then they stick it to him and host the trophy, and they can say F you to the NCAA as well on the way out the door. I think this right here, like I said, Indiana, Kirk Cincinnati, they can win it. This dude right here, team that won 4 games 2 years ago to winning the national championship, and then they would have won 15 games. Because I think they're 14, well, it'd be 16 games, because I think they're maybe 14 and 0 right now. So if they can win this right here, you would say, man, this team won 16 games. The last team that do to win even close to this was, I think, the LSU team that won 15. So this right here tells you, man, this right here season right here, and then the last team, which will be no, I think I pretty much talked about Oregon, Ole Miss. Yeah, I talked about all of them. So Oregon, if Oregon can win it, you can say, man, Dan Lanning, had a chance. They pretty much were trying to hire him everywhere. He chose to stay at Oregon and delivered them a national championship. So guess what? Phil Knight said that he don't mind. He will. It don't matter how much money it takes. He will buy him a national championship. And then, hey, guess what? That would be the icing on the cake for the Oregon Ducks. They'll finally get their long-awaited national championship. And if you look at all of these teams, the Miami Hurricanes dominated in the early 2000s and won a national championship, but they hadn't really been, as dominant lately. Ole Miss never. This right here will be the first national championship in a long time for the Ole Miss Rebels. Indiana never winning a national championship. In Oregon, so all of these teams right here is built. I mean, it's just like whichever team wins this season, you're going to say, man, this is a dream story. This team winning the national championship, man. So, hey, man, y'all let me know what y'all think. And like I said before, the matchups are set. On this side, you have Oregon against Indiana. Oregon, Indiana will face off round 2. Can Oregon get their revenge, or will this right here be another steamroll for the Indiana Hoosiers? And then on the other side, you have Ole Miss against Miami. Miami, Carson Beck. And then you have Ole Miss, the kid that was left high and dry by their father. And now the kid is trying to get to a national championship and win it and stick it to his dad and say, guess what, Dad? We never needed you. We just needed you to help us a little bit. But now we're men, and now we can win the national championship. But y'all let me know what y'all think, man. I'm just happy about all of these teams. And I will be coming back. We got to get ready to talk about Ole Miss and why I think that this right here is going to be the craziest thing if their assistant coaches leave them right now and during the college football playoffs. So make sure y'all tune into that one, man. We'll be coming back. So make sure y'all tune in. Until next time, man, y'all have a great, great, great Saturday. Be safe out there, y'all. Peace.
Mr. Diggs, we're on in 5. Vegas can't be choosers, but grandma chose Trace. She raised me on scraps.